right. Hello, everybody. My name is Megan Oriana, and I'm going to do my primary source project presentation on lobotomies and the issue behind their non-transparent results. For my table of contents, I will be giving a brief overview of psychosurgery as a whole, what it is, its goals, and its outcomes in terms of what the goals were. Lobotomies, I will also be giving a brief overview. I know we discussed them a lot in different classes over here in Laverne, but I will be giving a basic overview of what it was and its history. For my third point, I will be talking about publications and articles on lobotomies. I will basically talk about how lobotomies were shown in research articles and other media, and with that being said, my last point is going to be ethical concerns with those specific articles. So psychosurgery is the use of surgical procedures on the brain, destroying some of its tissue, to treat mental illnesses and disorders. So with that being said, medicine's goal was to heal throughout history for as long as we can remember. Psychosurgery, instead of healing like everyone in terms of psychologists and lobotomists wanted to, it ended up actually just managing and controlling different disorders and illnesses. Some of those illnesses included schizophrenia, depression, even homosexuality at the time. Even with lobotomies being used as a way to help empty the hospitals at that time period, that was one of the biggest goals, was to help treat and get people out of the hospitals. It went on to start filling up hospitals due to a lot of the side effects after the surgeries. Lobotomy origins. The earliest lobotomy was done in 1888 in Switzerland by Burkhardt. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. After several surgeries, psychosurgery was not discussed until 1935 when Fulton, a neurophysiologist, discovered a significant difference in aggressive monkeys after the removal of their frontal lobes. From that research, Igor Moniz then took these findings and created a modified version and used them on human patients, thus the first lobotomy. Based on his findings, they became well known around the world and landed into the hand of Freeman and Watts, where they evolved this procedure into the prefrontal lobotomy. There are three different types of lobotomies. There's open, closed, and transorbital. For open, it is when a piece of the skull is removed to allow full vision of the brain. Then a lobotomist will pinpoint the specific part of the brain that they would like to remove, and remove it. Closed lobotomies are when burr holes are made on the side of the skull. These psychologists go in completely blind, but use physical markers to navigate where they're at in the brain and figure out what they are going to remove. Transorbital lobotomies are better known as the ice pick operation, is when leucotomy is used to go through the eye sac and is swung in a specific arched manner to cut the inferior section of the frontal lobe. A leucotomy is a specialized scalpel for the procedure. Publications and articles on lobotomies. The first report for lobotomies was by Igor Moniz, written a year after the first lobotomy in 1936, and it was on the first for surgery on a human patient. Majority of the articles at the time provided the information to the public. Well, with that being said, a lot of the articles at the time rarely, if at all, discussed the negative side effects. Authors decided to completely leave out negative effects altogether, um, which included confusion, memory loss, and mood swings. Lobotomists often ended up under fire from a lot of other colleagues in the field due to their lack of transparency and the lack of methodology. A lot of the research at the time didn't use a control group, which was where they're not able to see the significant difference in their published papers. Ethical concerns with publications in relations to modern psychology. Like I said, in a lot of the articles, there was a lot of issues in terms of what was being said about the procedure itself. One of the big issues was informed consent. At the time, since a lot of the research hid a lot of the negative aspects of the procedure, many people that went through the procedure did not properly get informed of what they were getting themselves into. A lot of that even included how they were getting their. Sorry, let me restart. How, since a lot of the people that were being used for the research was often people with psychological illnesses. Often there was a lot of prisoners being used for lobotomies. These prisoners often got the choice to just choose between death or the procedure. With that being said, they got the basic consent form that they were forced to sign with no idea of what the procedure truly entailed. Um, Beneficence and non-maleficence, weighing the good and the bad. A lot of the good and the bad. Any procedure has its risks, but there was a lot of question of whether lobotomies were truly beneficial compared if we're comparing the results and the side effects that came along with it. And overall, the integrity of the articles, which is one of our biggest ethical codes, was that a lot of researchers were not publishing their true findings. A lot of them even manipulated their results to benefit their own views on the use of lobotomies in psychology. With that being said, all of the ethical codes that we have today that we use to ensure our patients' safety and just keep check and balance of good and bad and ensure the results of our study are valid and in are used to promote the well-beings of humans. We would not have been created without a huge our history. The good and the bad has to be taken into consideration, even with some mistakes in our field that were not our proudest moments. We do have to take those into consideration. And these are my references. Thank you for listening.